and welcome to the preview on the Fulhamish YouTube channel. My name's Elizabeth Barnard and I'll be your host. Today, it is crunch time in the race for Europe. We've got 3 massive finals left in the rest of our season. I think 3 must-win games. Starting off at the Cottage on Saturday when we face Everton. And for this one, I am delighted to be joined by Dave from the Blue Room podcast. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Good, thanks. Looking forward to this away game because it's. I'm not just saying it because I'm talking to a Fulham fan, but it is one of my favourite aways. Given exactly where you guys are located, given everything that's in and around the Thames, there, one of the best, especially if you get it this time of year when the weather's normally decent.
Yeah, and I think the weather is going to be pretty decent on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does make me think about how lucky we are that we get to do it every couple of weeks. Firstly, it would be great to take a sort of zoomed out look at Everton's season so far. So it started pretty disastrously under Sean Dyche, and then there were some ups and mostly downs before he was sacked in the winter. And then David Moyes came in, steadied the ship, strung some wins together. Tell me, how's it felt to be an Everton fan this season in what I imagine is a really emotional year for the club as it's your last season at Goodison?
Absolutely. I think if you were to tell me that it ended up to the situation we're in now at the very start of the season, I'd have beat your hand off. You're feeling the way in which it started. I feel as if at the time, and it takes a lot to think back on it, to be honest, because so much has happened in that time since we had Sean Dyche. I think in general, many of the fan base was okay with giving him another chance. Not another chance, but he'd earned his way into being able to start the season as the Everton manager because he's kept us in the Premier League. And obviously, for any side, you guys will know that too. That's the essential of every club that's sort of in the bottom half of the Premier League. He went and did that. He didn't do it in any successful way. He didn't do it in a way in which the football you watched was attractive and that you looked forward to seeing. It was more very business-like. It was more pragmatic approaches. It was horrible to watch, to be honest with you. I'm not just saying that with hindsight, but it wasn't, and I'm sure you'll know this yourself. Some days when you know you've got a game, yeah, of course you're a fan, so you're always going to go to the match, but sometimes you think, please don't play like you did in the last game. Please don't do that again. Even if you go and get a bog standard draw, which of course is a big result when you're trying to battle to stay in the Premier League. So I always felt with him that after the first season he came in and he kept us in the Premier League with about 12 games to go when he first came in. He was always teetering on the edge of, well, this just simply isn't good enough to watch. So as long as you're just about keeping our heads above water, then that's sort of okay for now. But when it started to go in the opposite direction and it looked like another fight to stay in the league with the various issues with points and whatnot, I think all of us looked at each other and thought, yeah, this just isn't working any further. Shake his hand, thank him for everything, and let's move on.
Yeah, it feels like the bringing Moyes in was maybe the best managerial change that a team has made in the league this season. Really, really turned around the run of results and strung 4 wins together right at the beginning of his tenure. And since then, a relatively impressive run of form. I would say, is it fair to say it's tailed off a little bit in recent weeks? Obviously, wins against Forest, draw against Arsenal. But are Everton just sort of gliding towards the finish line now?
Yeah, absolutely. And the context, I think, is quite important because, again, we would have given anything to be in that sort of situation given the last few years we've had. For Everton to appoint David Moyes, who, again, somebody we got in who not everybody's cup of tea, given how sour it was when he left to join Manchester United, and that's, 12 years ago now. He was largely hated by most of our fan base. Even though he's always, I wouldn't say I got quite close to him, but I used to speak to him quite a bit. Everton were always close to his heart, and as soon as he was given that opportunity to come back, I'm pretty sure he would have crawled back to Goodison Park because he has that much affection to the football club, and I feel as if at the time, in my opinion, is exactly who we needed. Somebody who knew the club, somebody who, when he first came in, all those years ago, what is it now? That's 23 years ago, when he first came in as a young manager. Everton were in a similar predicament than they have been this season. And when he came in, there's that usual bounce that you get, or, well, I'd say usual. I mean, a lot of clubs tend to get that bouncer when a manager comes in, and his first game was against Aston Villa at home, and we were absolutely dreadful. And I think it's very, very easy to quickly look at this and think, well, nothing's going to change here. Moyes has come in and nothing's going to change. But obviously, I think it was 2 days after he signed his contract to come back in. So he needed to be given some time, which is very hard to do when you're in a relegation fight. But then slowly things started to become much more Everton-like at Goodison. And I know we'll probably
Mm.
talk about Goodison in a bit, but it felt very much like it used to. It felt like matches that we were playing against anybody, we always seemed to have a chance. There'd always seemed to be something that happened late on in games. And that was the Moyes-esque sort of feeling we ended up getting back with him. And in terms of getting him back in, I feel as if it was an intelligent choice to go for him. I mean, there were some ridiculous shouts like, oh, Mourinho wants to come back to managing the Premier League and now he fancies coming to a club that's struggling so he can do something different with his career. That wouldn't surprise me at all, given the ego in the man.
Mm.
But ultimately, I think you needed a safe pair of hands at the time, and that's what we went and got. And lo and behold, you're right. The end of the comment you made there, when you get to a stage of a season where you know you're safe, it does sort of peter out towards the end of it. It's horrible to watch. I mean, it's nothing. There's no entertainment. I think we've only won one in the last 10 or two in the last 10. Majority of the games have been draws, and it just feels like you're going through the motions of, well, 13th, 14th, anything like that. I mean, it's been quite fun. If we're probably going to finish above Man United or Tottenham, I think that's hilarious if that's if that's the case. But yeah, like I say, I'd have given you anything for that if you'd have said that to me at the start of the season, pretty much since Christmas. So yeah, it's in a nice position, particularly with the new stadium on the horizon as well.
Yeah, talk to me about the feelings then about leaving Goodison Park. Um, Obviously, one of the oldest, most impressive stadiums in the Premier League, and like as also a team with an old and impressive stadium, I can't even imagine how emotional I would feel knowing that this was, the last goodbye to my stadium. Has it been a good send off to Goodison Park? The game that sticks out to me is that 2-2 draw with Liverpool in the last
Mm.
minute Tarkowski winner, and that being absolutely, it seems magical and electric from the stands.
Mm.
But have you got good memories of Goodison Park this season as you say farewell to it?
Oh, absolutely. I think each time you take it for granted when you're at your stadium, you'll be exactly the same. Not to put words in your mouth. I think as we get through, and this is why I'm a big fan of Fulham, because you have a traditional stadium,
Mm.
and they're becoming less and less. Everybody's moving on to something new, and I understand that that's the way the game goes these days. You have to move on to a bigger stadium. You have to move on to a more commercial, positive stadium, which is a shame, really. I think that's the ugly side of football that we all edge towards. And when we were announced, I mean, years ago, everybody knew at some point we'd have to leave that stadium simply because it was just it falling apart, really. There were all sorts of different things that needed to happen to it every summer, so it got its safety certificate. And but that in itself, I think, Elizabeth, I think that is what makes it the way it is. Many grounds are
Mm.
like that. Like yourself, I think of Villa Park. I think of Leeds, who are coming back up. Real traditional stadiums that will will sort of move away from as football goes by. And with Goodison, I mean, it's very easy for me to start talking about how it's one of the greatest, and the way people refer to it. But I think only as a fan you really get that feeling in games, even when you've lost. It's 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 like a sanctuary at times. I think regardless of what's going on with all of us, our personal lives away from football, that's normally the outlet that we all have. Going to Goodison is a tradition. It's also a routine that everybody has if there's a Saturday afternoon game at 3 o'clock, which I'm a big fan of, as opposed to all the other kickoffs you can get.
Me
Three
also.
o'clock, exactly. Three o'clock at Goodison is a routine that we all go through. It's a local club. And all the Liverpool fans hate it when David Moyes called it the People's Club, and that side of where it is in the stadium, it's it's iconic for us, and it's something that is going to be more and more upsetting. Not just after the last game, not just after what we do against Southampton, after that, I think for a long time. And I think it's a general fact that you see with clubs when they leave their old stadium to go to a new one. I think distinctly remember Arsenal took a while for them to actually get used to it and win a game. That's what I fear of moving on to the new one, which is phenomenal to look at, by the way. Goodison itself, though, it's everything. I always feel for slightly older fans. I mean, I'm approaching 40 years old here, but I think about those who've seen Everton in their heyday, winning the league in the 80s and a successful side. Goodison to them will mean a hell of a lot more, certainly in a different way than it does to everybody else, because predominantly we've always been battling to stay in the Premier League, or under David Moyes, the best years we've had is battling for European football. Right now, though, it's something that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And whilst we're all preparing for this, whilst we're all doing podcast related stuff, videos, all sorts, the club is brilliant at that. I think it's quite ironic how good Everton are at a club that do everything sentimental. They are experts at that. They'd win the Champions League if that's what it was related to after every season. And some people, myself, I think Everton have always overdone sentiment, but now's the time to do that because it's saying goodbye to 130 odd years. We're never going to see it again. And I don't think there'll be a dry eye in the house after that game against Southampton.
Yeah, hopefully Southampton will provide a good result for you guys and a
Oh
good
no, I've
send-off.
absolutely no doubt. There's no doubt whatsoever that Southampton come and spoil it. They will absolutely come and spoil this game.
Well,
It's just a written Everton way.
yeah, it's are Everton one of the only two sides that Southampton have beaten this season?
There
Is
you
that
go.
correct?
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've seen Southampton play a fair bit. I think they are really bad. Actually,
Yeah.
that sentimentality thing is a lovely point. I read an article about the fact that the club was working with season ticket holders who are moving to the new stadiums to make sure they stay within their communities, that they have the same people in front of them and behind them. I just thought that was so special and so lovely and so much work. So yeah, really, really nice. Let's turn our attention then to Saturday and round up talking about this game. How important is this one to Everton? Do you feel like the team is really going to be up for it? And how are Everton going to be able to hurt Fulham on Saturday?
So the really interesting perspective I've got from this is probably slightly different than the thing you'd immediately look at, and that is we have so many players who are out of contract. And I feel that should be the motivation that gets the best out of all of these players. As I said before, I think it's normally a fixture if you're safe or if you're in a mid-table side in the league. Then these are sort of a game that you look at and think, oh, you'd take a draw or whatever happens, it's a bonus. This time it feels different. I think when you've got that many players who need to earn themselves a new contract, they have to go and do that. And there are a lot of issues in the air. If you think about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's back fit again, it just seems to be like he's at a fork in the road with his career. I think that I'd say more of the fan base than less would be happy for him to leave. Should we be able to get money now with his contract finishing up? That's not going to happen. So that's a really difficult situation. We've got like the likes of Idrissa Gana Gueye, who I think many of us would say is our player of the season, despite the fact he's moving on to 35 years old. You've got James Coleman, his contract's going. You've got Ashley Young. We've got some really old players. Our best players as well, obviously Pickford and Branthwaite, who I think we're resigned to knowing that he will move on at some point. So this summer's going to be huge. I know you probably say that almost every year as a fan of a club, but this summer's massive. So in perspective of that, going to Fulham, it's a big game for many of these players. It's a big game for David Moyes as well, because we've had a poor run, well, not a poor run of results, but we did have one game. We just like to draw. I think we've drawn 15 games in the Premier League this season. And I'm pretty sure I'd certainly take it again, given Fulham. I've got a real soft spot for Marco Silva. I feel so sorry for the guy, because I just think he was smack in the middle of something at the wrong time when you're able to spend as much as you want and you've got directors of football. I'm pretty sure the way he was at Everton wasn't exactly the way he wanted to be with recruitment and whatnot. So playing against him as well, I think there's a strong feeling you've got to go there and show him perhaps the Everton he maybe wanted it to be before it changed ways for him. And player-wise. I mean, we've got Charlie Alcaraz in the middle, who I think we all would have him sign as soon as the season finishes, as soon as he's able to get a new contract, because he's on loan. He's apparently available for around 12 to 16 million pound. Given the way it is these days, that's pretty decent fee. And he's been quite electric for us. There's part of his game that's really rough, typical to maybe a stereotype of South American kind of players, but he's got the change that you need. So is Ndiaye, who plays the other side of him. McNeil's back as well. So we have a three there who I think you'll see. Just behind probably Beto will start, and Calvert-Lewin will come on, playing in a way that Everton haven't been used to. When you've got three attacking midfield players who are all quite versatile, they're able to move in and amongst each other. That's what I think you'll see from Everton. That's the sort of danger that Fulham will have. And like I say, with everybody else, the core A players like that, you're going to see if they really, really, really want to stay at this football club, or you'll just see them going through the motions and can't wait to finish and go and find another club.
So a lot of very, very motivated players coming
Yeah.
to the Cottage on Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, that is not what I wanted to hear at all. I wanted to hear that everyone's got their feet up, flip-flops on, doesn't care.
Don't take that as factual, because it does get to that state of the season, doesn't it? I think that's sort of been the narrative of our chat in general, is how you sort of stay motivated when you get to a particular stage of a season, given the position you're in. And I'm Fulham. I'm not just saying this because I'm on your podcast. Fulham are a side that I really like. They're the side that I'd love to see. You think back to when you got to the Europa League final. All of that, it feels like the motions that Fulham have been through. I can see there's similar ways in which that you could relate to Everton. So when you're in a position now where you can still qualify for Europe, I hope Fulham go and do that with the expense of not winning against Everton. So I'd be happy if you win the other two games and get you into Europe. If you lose the Everton one, I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm pretty sure you will be as well if it means you still don't get it.
Oh, 100%. But I do unfortunately think, like, if we are going to get Europe, I do think this is must win.
I think you're playing the right side. I think if you were to pick, aside from the three that have already got relegated, Everton would probably be near the top of that list who you want to play at home, and that's just not to cry it in from my point of view. I just feel that how efficient Fulham are, how nice the football is to watch as well. It should be a good game to watch as well. It should be something that's quite good on the eye, and we're playing against a side that is so efficient in what they do. Robinson as well. I really wish he stayed with us, because he's one of the finest players that has left, and we were gutted to let him go at the time. But he's a captain now, isn't he? So he's been fantastic.
Yeah, we've got that left-hand side of Robinson, and then in front of him, a player that you guys also know very well, Alex Iwobi, which is where I think we're most threatening, and hopefully where we'll be able to bring some goals on Saturday. But if I'm honest, I'm feeling very nervous about this one, and I think Fulham could edge it, but it would be great to get a score prediction from you before we go.
I think we'll score, but I think Fulham will be too strong. Like you mentioned, that left hand side, the Iwobi as well. I mean, we could talk all day about Iwobi, because he's somebody who's a little bit like Marmite at the club. He can do some ridiculously good looking things, and then at other times he looks like, how's he a Premier League player? I think Fulham will win this 3-1. I think Fulham will end up with a comfortable win. And like I say, because Everton won't be sort of licking the wounds or anything, because they're already safe, and the focus is on Southampton and Goodison, I think Fulham will go and win this one.
That is great to hear. And I was also going to say, maybe 2-1. We don't score loads and loads and loads, but I do think Fulham will win on Saturday, and I really, really hope Fulham will win on Saturday. This is a huge, huge game for us in that very, very tight race for 8th spot. Dave, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you?
At the Blue Room EFC on across all the social media figures, at various places, and just give the Blue Room Everton a look wherever you want, really, on any sort of social, any sort of internet, and podcasts. You know where they go all these days. Every single place you can find a podcast, you'll find us. So just give it a look, just Google it, and you can find all of our content there. And we pretty much do a show every single day now as well. So it's Everton all over the place if you can stomach it.
Yeah. Thank you for watching the preview. Sammy will be back with a quick take on Saturday after the game, hopefully celebrating a big 3 points. But until then, all I have to say is come on, you white.